Hey folks, this is Mike Tango Whiskey coming back at you with another video. For all those that are new to the channel, welcome. This is a prepping channel for the folks in the meaty part of that curve, which I think is most of us. And for all my other middle peeps returning, thank you, and appreciate all you subscribing and watching these videos. All right, so what we're gonna do today is we are going to build what's called a possibles pouch, possibles kit. This is an idea that I'm stealing from, apparently it started with the frontiersmen. Like they would have these little kits of some tools and resources that would help them kind of manage contingencies in the field. And then it also exists today. There's a lot of videos out there from the hunting community and the backpacking community, where it seems like the people with the most reps in the woods and kind of these far out remote situations, that tail end of the curve that we've been talking about, it seems like they have boiled their kit down to a small, lightweight package that gives them additional capability in those contingency situations, right? So you may recognize this bag here. It's my most popular video. It's a video, it's got like 16,000 views. This is my get home bag, and I kind of presented it as a lightweight kit, 16 pounds, I think. And there's a lot of things that I said, don't go in here. These are things I'm not gonna have to do. And today I'm gonna double down on a couple of those things. I still think that in my scenario, given my specific situation, working in a city, living in the suburbs, it's 16 miles, I know all the routes, I've ridden it, walked it. I have a lot of intel about my specific situation. And I'm gonna double down that I'm not gonna cook. I am not going to have to navigate, right? There's a couple things that I still am adamant that I'm not gonna have to do. But I'll be honest, I got a lot of feedback and a lot of comments about this video telling me some pretty reasonable things. Like, hey, can't you just add like maybe a Bic lighter? What if a Bic lighter would give you the possibility to make fire and it would only add 1 or 2 ounces? Or water purification. So those comments really got me thinking, could I add some additional capability to prepare me for maybe, as unlikely as they are? So if we're talking about the long tail of that bell curve of likelihood, and I'm gonna add things that are adding bulk and weight to this kit, I want those things to be as small and as light as possible. So is it possible for me to build a small kit that could give me some additional capability in those contingency situations and still remain really light and really, really compact? So it got me thinking, and I think we can do it. And today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna build that kit. I'm gonna build that pouch here and see how small and how light I can make it. All right, so stick around. So let's get started. This began when I got some feedback about my pick kit. You guys have seen this. This was in my get home bag. And if you look, this thing weighs 1.4 ounces, give or take. And there's a lot of things in here. There's a lot of tools in here that I probably don't need. Like if I'm so concerned about weight in my get home bag, this is a bit much. So I thought, okay, what is essential in here that I would take out that I use the most? And I decided it would be a pick. And then this set of Bogota picks, this traveler's pick, and then these Bogota picks that I carry in my wallet anyway. These are the things I use the most of the time to help me during the day, right? If I need to get into a lock or something. So I can easily remove this. Now, once I remove that, now I'm down to not even 1 whole ounce, right? So since I removed 1 pound, my thought was, could I add some other capabilities that would equal about the same amount of weight? So that's what we're gonna try and do today, okay? Now, what goes into a possibles pouch? There's a few different things that people talk about. One of the big ones, the John Barlow video, is a really good one. If you get a chance, I would go watch that. He says that shelter, fire, water, signal, some sort of medical, food, and repairs are essential. Now, that's his scenario, which would be backcountry hunting. So we're gonna adapt that a little bit to our situation, city, suburbs, get home type scenario. So what I came up with was I removed the food because I would likely have access to food at work or on the way home, and I have some food in my get home bag already. Repairs over the course of a 2-hour trip, mainly that's going to concern my bike, and I've got separate tools for that on my bike. So what I came up with was medical, some sort of fixed blade knife, because I got a lot of feedback about that, water purification, signal in the sense that you wanted to get somebody's attention, because I am going to be around people, the ability to build a fire, maybe some extra light, and then the big one would be some sort of expedient shelter. Now that's a tall order, but we're going to see what we can do in those areas. So first of all, let's look at medical. When it comes to medical, I had a kind of a possibles pouch that I use whenever I go into the woods. So if I'm hunting, and I've never killed anything here in Washington, but I built this pack out with like a setup and binos and all of the things I would need, very similar to a possibles pouch type thing, but that I would wear in the woods. So I wear this as a chest pack. So I started with a lot of the gear that I had in here and just said, okay, which of these items would I need in the city or in the suburbs for my scenario? So some things that came out immediately are things like this, right? A pair of binos. This might be useful, but I already have one of these in my chest pack in my get home bag. So I took these out. Navigation, again, I'm doubling down that I am not going to need to navigate on the way from the city to where I live. I know the route. I'm going to take roads. Even if they're blocked, I doubt that all of the roads would all be blocked all at the same time. So I'm doubling down on that. I'm not going to need navigation in this scenario. Now let's take the knife situation as an example. There are things that I would have on my EDC. Usually I'm wearing a paracord bracelet. So that's, 10 feet of paracord of cordage that I would have. I also usually carry a pocket knife of some sort. So I would already have a blade on me. But could I get a fixed blade into this system? And I want to use fixed blade as a kind of an example, a really good example of that bell curve that we're always talking about, right? What should I put in my bag? What should I put in my kit? And what capabilities do I need in that kit? This would be kind of far into the spectrum, right? So I go, hey, I need a fixed blade. And this is a Warhead from Cold Steel. I'm not even sure if they make this anymore. But it's a double-edged monster of a knife designed to be put on the end of a staff. You could lash it to that staff and turn it into like a hog-sticking weapon, right? This is massive and totally unnecessary for me in my specific scenario, right? So this is not something I would put in there. But let's go a couple steps down. Now, what about this guy? This is a Gerber, like a tactical military type blade. Ugh, look at this guy. What is this? I forget what this one's called. It's not the Strongman. I think it's the Prodigy. Beefy blade, full tang, survival. You can strap it to a nice knife. It's got a sharpener, nice sheath, right? But when I'm looking at this guy, over a pound, 1 pound, 4 ounces. This is a beast of a knife, right? Same thing with the BK7. Really great knife, gives me chopping capability. But do I need to chop in my get home scenario? I'm not going to need to chop any wood on the way home, right? 13 ounces, right? This is a beefy knife as well. A couple steps down, I mean, here's a Cold Steel. I think this is an SRK. Really great knife. SRK-C. This is the compact version. I have the full-size version, but I think this is a 5 or 6 inch blade. About 5 ounces for this guy. That's not bad, right? That's not bad. But can we get better? Can we get better? As we go down the kind of the rabbit hole here, this is a Izula knockoff. This is just some Chinese version of that guy. $30 on Amazon. 3.5 ounces. That's pretty light, right? Nice Kydex sheath. But it's not just weight we're thinking about, it's also size. Like how much space will this take up? Because the truth is that the heavier the knife, the heavier the item, and the bulkier that item is, the less likely you are to keep it and use it and to carry it, especially if you've got to carry it. Like the capabilities that these things give me, I'm probably not going to need in my specific scenario. So I probably should not include them, right? We have some other smaller knives here. This is one, this is a Becker that I reshaped and added some handles to. I forget the BK16 or something. Pretty cool little knife, and I made this terrible sheath for it. This guy's like 4 ounces. Another cheapy Amazon knife. But this is a nice little fixed blade, right? It's a full handle fixed blade. Give you some capability there. So this guy with the sheath, about 4 ounces. Let's re-tear that. Yeah, about 4 to 5 ounces. So these are getting closer into that range, right? Here's another folder. This is a really lightweight folder. It's a buck folder. This thing, how much do you weigh? Let's tear that out. 2.5 ounces. Now we're getting close, right? So I was digging through my knife bin, all of this pile. Let me throw this over there. And here's what I came up with. I have this little fixed blade off of Amazon. This is just some, you know, some knockoff version. It's a nice little blade. 3-finger, not a full finger setup, right? But fixed blade capability. Let's see what this guy weighs. Ooh, 3 ounces. This is the heaviest of them all. So it's actually heavier than like this guy or this guy. But what I like about this one is the form factor. And in addition to being smaller than this guy, maybe not quite as light, but being smaller, it also has the capability to be a neck knife, right? So this can serve 2 purposes. It can give me the capability of a fixed blade, but it could also be used as a defense weapon if I need that, a concealable defense weapon. So this has 3 different possible scenarios or possible uses to me in my mind. So this is going to be my choice. This one, I like this one because it does a couple different things for me. I can wear it where it can't be seen. I can use it as a self-defense tool, and it gives me some fixed blade capability, right? So this is a good example of how this decision matrix will work when we're trying to build a small, lightweight kit that still gives us increased capability. Okay, so this is going in. What else? Let's talk about some lighting. Here's a couple lighting issues or lighting items. So here's a headlamp, 2 ounces, right? Here's a little Streamlight flashlight that I got, which I like, rechargeable. This is a kind of a cool piece of kit. 1.2 ounces. So which one of these would I choose? I use this headlamp a lot. It is very capable. I like the hands-free option. Yeah, so that's nice. This is good. I think headlamps are good. But I think I'm going to choose this one, and the reason is because this pocket clip right here gives me the capability to wear it on my hat if I needed to. So it gives me the capability to do that, and it can be a handheld as well. And it's rechargeable, which I like too. Now this is also rechargeable, and I carry the cable to recharge both of these. So because of that increased capability or the 2-fold capability, I think I'm going to include this guy. Okay, and he's a little bit lighter too. Okay, so we have 2 items here. We're going to put these 2 items in there. Now, what about fire? So let's talk briefly about fire. People are like, oh, you should carry a lighter. And I have a lighter in my EDC kit, but let's talk about these real quick. This is a more primitive option. I like this because it's waterproof. You know, it'll do the thing no matter where. Oh, I love that smell. Now, this is great. I think in my particular scenario, I'm not going to be doing kindling and all that kind of thing. I'm just going to bring a Bic. Now, I've added a boot on here because this gives me some waterproof capability, because some people might say, well, that's waterproof in a Bic. If it gets wet, it won't be. So I've got a little sleeve on here. This is by Flame Nest. It's a nice little cap that keeps your Bic waterproof. So let's see if this is a good choice. 1.2 ounces. That's pretty light. Let's see this. 2 ounces, yeah. So we've got that beat. This is smaller and it's lighter. This is a good choice. This guy's going in. All right, how about signaling? Now, in the woods, I understand signaling, like maybe a mirror to signal an aircraft. I certainly don't need that level of signaling in the city or in my get home scenario, my specific scenario. Or this guy, I forget, this is called a buzzsaw. So I've strapped some paracord around this, and if you undo this, you could crack this chem light and swing it so it creates a big bright circle, which is a pretty cool signaling device, nice and light, something like that. But I don't imagine that I'll be trying to get somebody's attention from far away on my ride home or in my particular scenario. So let's see. So I wouldn't say I need to signal, but I would say that I think the potential exists for me to get somebody's attention, either positive or negative, right? If I'm trying to get attention for help, or if I'm trying to get somebody's attention to help them avoid some other scenario. So I still think being able to reach far like that, that's a type of signaling. So I'm going to include this whistle because it's nice and light. 0.4 ounces. So I'm going to include this guy because I think that's a good capability to have in a small package. Okay, so what do we got? We've got these items. let's talk about medical. Now, in my hunting pack here that I had, I already had this little, it's by Adventure Medical Kits. It has it's a small trauma pack, which is kind of cool. Nice little package. I like the form factor here. It's nice and slim. And in this pack, I've got a few different things. I've got some boo-boo Band-Aids, which are good. I've got some alcohol pads, which, remember in a previous video, I tested this, one of my shorts. This is a really great fire starter too. So with this lighter and these alcohol pads, I can start a fire really quickly if I needed to. Some larger bandages, some big Band-Aids, some more alcohol wipes, some gauze. So there's some good packaging there. Another Band-Aid. And then over on this side, I have slightly more serious medical here, right? A quick clot gauze that could stop some bleeding. And then a more Expedient tourniquet, right? So this isn't a full-blown tourniquet. It's a SWAT T. It's like a stretch tourniquet that you could use in a pinch. I really like it because it's small and compact. So I love the form factor here for this guy. So this may actually replace that big medical kit in my get-home bag. So if I carry this with me, I could probably get rid of that huge IFAC-style medical kit, especially given my scenario with so little time and the distance that I'm traveling. So let's see how much this guy weighs. 6 ounces? Yeah, I like that. 6.3 ounces. That's nice and light, and I like how it's slim. So this, I'm going to include this guy here. Okay, shelter. Now, shelter was the big piece, right? Like, do you carry a tarp? Do you carry a tent? I have some tents that are this big and they're 2 pounds, and you know, that's pretty good. 1.5 pounds, which is really good. My first thought was maybe an emergency blanket. This is pretty serious. This is like a serious emergency blanket, and this guy's nice. This gives you a lot of capability. But this by itself is about 15 ounces. And plus it's so big and bulky. Like, this is bigger than everything I have on the table so far. So I like this. I like what it does for me, but it's just too big and bulky, right? And too heavy. So then I thought, well, what about a poncho? You saw this in a Goodwill video recently. This is a camo poncho. So I like the capability this gives me. It could slip over whatever I'm wearing. That's nice. It is also camouflage, which is helpful if I'm trying to avoid detection maybe. So let's see how heavy this guy is. Can't keep it together here. About 6.5, 7 ounces, somewhere in there. That's pretty light, right? That's nice and light. This is a possibility here, and I can crush this down really small. So I like this. But then I started thinking, okay, what is the bare minimum shelter? And you see this in a lot of other videos, so I thought I'd give this a try. This is a contractor bag, right? And there's 2 things that this does for me. Let's see how heavy this guy is. So it's half the weight of my poncho, 2.5 ounces, right? 2.5 ounces, which is great. The other thing is, man, the form factor. This thing is so small. I like the capability this gives me. This could be used as a shelter, Expedient shelter. It could be used as a liner to keep me dry, to keep me warm, especially given my scenario where I'm not going to be that long on the road or getting home. But if I did have to protect myself from the elements and it was going to be longer than I expected, this could serve as a pretty Expedient shelter. So I like how small and light this guy is, and we're gonna add that guy. So we have, so far, what do we got? We got shelter, we have fire, we have additional lighting, we have get some attention, some signaling capability, fixed blade capability, and a little bit of a self-defense capability here. And we've got some medical, right? So this is looking pretty good, pretty light, pretty small. Now, what about water? So I thought, so here's a grail. This is one of the things I saw in another video. I was like, I will not need to filter water. A lot of people had issues with that. They go, man, you're already carrying an Nalgene, so why not just replace it with a Grail, right? So let's test this out. About the same size factor, about the same form factor. So I understand the logic. That's sound logic. They're like, why don't you just use this instead of this, and you can filter and purify along the way. That's a legit point. That's a good point. Let's see how much this guy weighs. 13 ounces, okay? And then the Nalgene, let's see how much this guy weighs. About 6.5, 7 ounces. So this is roughly half the weight of this. So that's important. That saves me about 7 ounces. But one of the suggestions was about purification tablets. He goes, how much weight is that going to add? And he was right? So like, how much does this add? This is a set of purification tablets that would be for a 32-ounce Nalgene. Also, I've added 2 Motrin and 1 muscle relaxer to this small baggie here. So let's see. That barely registers. It's 0.1 ounces. So that's pretty cool. So what do we have here? Let's test the Nalgene with the water purification, 6.3 ounces. So that puts us roughly half of the weight of the Grail. And to be honest, I don't want to use this. This is a really great tool, but this thing lives in my bag, my hunting pack, the pack that I would use to actually go into the woods where I can scoop up water and filter. This is a better capability, but I'm going to use that in an environment where I'm more likely to use it. So I'm banking that I will have access to fresh water in that moment, either at work or along the way, or already in my EDC pack. And if I needed to scrounge some water along the way, this would give me the capability to purify that. So this is a really good return on 0.1 ounces of weight. So I'm going to go with these two. I'm going to keep these two. This is going to go in my get home bag, and this is going to go in my possibles pouch because I have so many water bottles. They're stationed everywhere. I've got them in my bags. I've got them in my car. I've got them at my job. I will likely have access to, and in fact, I know I will have access to one of my water bottles because they're everywhere. Someday I'll show you the collection that I've got. It's really disgusting. Okay. So I think we're set. What do we have here? We've got medical, we've got some fixed blade and self-defense capability, water purification, some signaling, some fire, additional light capability, and some shelter, all in this little set here. So let's weigh this and see where we're at. Well, before we do that, let's talk about packaging. So how should I carry this? Again, we want to make sure that the form factor is good. I don't want to use a giant pouch. I thought about this, but Cordura is heavy. These are really convenient and they're cool looking and I like their form factor, but this adds some weight. So I wanted to go with something lighter. This is just a little pouch that I got at a thrift store. I like it, but I don't like the idea of things kind of flopping around in here. So I like the color though. So then I found these. Like these are pretty slim, really great form factor on these. And I think they're about the size that I would need to put this stuff in here. I like the black, but I don't like that I can't see what it is. And black pouches tend to get lost inside of bags. So I'm gonna try this guy. I'm gonna see if I can fit all of this into this pouch right here. I also have this Eagle Creek. This is a nice one, but again, the color wouldn't be great. And it seems like it's a little bit smaller than this guy. So I'm gonna run with this. These are just these cheap Ziploc bags. They say they're waterproof. I would doubt that, but they say you can just get a variety pack of these on Amazon for like 10 bucks. I use these until the zippers break, and the zippers always break. So maybe you could upgrade to like a Magpul pouch or something that might be a little bit stronger, and I might do that in the future, but let's see here. Okay, 0.2 ounces, that's good. To 3 ounces, med kit, knife, lighter. Uh-oh, we're getting close. 15 ounces, signal, 15.3. Whoa, look at that. 15 ounces. So we are just under a pound with this kit. Man, if this stuff fits in here, I'm gonna scream for joy here. Okay, let's see. See what we can get. And I'll repack this later, but let's just see if it'll fit in here. Oh yeah, this is looking good. This guy over here. That guy right there. Ooh, that's nice. See if I can get this guy tucked away. Let's face him this way. Oh yeah. That's looking good. Oh shoot, I just forgot. There was one more thing I wanted to add to this. You guys know how I feel about the traveler's pick. In my particular scenario, city to suburbs, gaining access to some place for safety from the weather or from violence, I think a traveler's pick is a really good choice. This thing is kind of light. We'll have to weigh it after I add him, but I'm gonna see if I can add him and get away with it here. So we have all of those things in this little pouch here. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's nice. Let's see if we've reached our goal. Let's tear that out. Oh, look, it's it's exactly 1 pound. Oh my gosh. That is so awesome. All right. Man, I am super pleased with that. So, what does this do for me? In this 1 pound, 6x4" pouch, I've got medical, I've got fixed blade, I've got some self-defense, I've got water purification, some signaling capability, fire making capability, some additional lighting, and an Expedient shelter, all in this tiny pack. Man, I am super pleased with that. What should we call this? A possibles pouch, a possibles kit? We'll have to come up with a cooler name than that. But so for those of you in the meaty part of the curve, this is an easy thing to do, relatively cheap to do. And think about this. This could carry over, not just in your get-home bag. Maybe this could even live in your EDC bag, and it might just live in my EDC bag. And then this would be the thing that I take and carry over to my get-home bag if I had to, you know, get home quickly from downtown. Man, I am super pleased with that. I appreciate you all. Thanks for coming along on this little journey. You can hear the excitement in my voice. I love it when things are nice and compact like this. This is very pleasing to me. So, this is Mike Tango Whiskey, and I am all clear.